वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste, friends. Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all for today's 74th session of our series Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. Continuing our study of Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita with Shankara Bhashyam, today verses 16th to 20th shall be explained by our Param Vedanta teachers, Dr. Ambika, Dr. Divakar, Dr. Hegade sir, Srimati Chetana, and Srimati Apeksha. Sri Ullas will give an introduction and moderate the session. Over to Ullas ji.
Thank you, Shiv Kumar ji. Hari Om. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. As Shiv Kumar ji was saying, we are in chapter 13. So let's imagine that there is this is an IPL season going on. So 18 over match is there. While all the overs are very important, the first ones and the last ones and everything, but we can imagine that this 13th over is a very turning point, whether this is so we need to, the best of the batsman or the bowler is the one we are putting on there. And Krishna is our best batsman here, who's trying to tell the very crux of the entire teaching of not just Bhagavad Gita, but all our scriptures, all our Vedanta. Like, what is this in chapter called Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga? And in that too, Arjuna asks, the chapter starts with Arjun's questions. And all those questions are important. But this is the most important question in those questions also. So far we have seen that Arjuna had totally asked, like, what is Kshetram, what is Kshetrajna, what is Jnanam, and then what is Jneyam. And then he had also asked what is Prakriti and Purusha. But very, very important thing is, what is this name? What is it that needs to be known? See, there are so many things in the world that we can know. There is physics, there is chemistry, there is cricket, there is golf, there is AI, there is n number of things are there, and they're all very good and beautiful, and we should know all of them. But what is it that is the most important thing? What is that most subtle knowledge that we need to have? We need knowledge to obviously solve some kind of problem. The biggest problem that humans face is the problem of insecurity, and all that comes from almost like from a fear of death, that what will happen to me. But that also happens because we have an ignorance about when I say what will happen to me, who is that me, who is that I? So the ignorance of that I is the one that is causing all that problem. So I need to know who that I is to solve that problem of samsara. This whole match is going on between who I really am versus this world, versus the conditions that I'm facing, all the problems that I'm facing today. And here we are getting equipped with the best of the best knowledge, which will help us come out of that problems and then ultimately win that match. So this is the subtlest, most important topic of Vedanta, in which what must be known. It is pretty much same as what we had discussed there at the time when we were discussing Kshetram and Kshetrajna also. It is just like how we look at from different viewpoints. So just before this, we studied what is Jnanam. Basically, what are the things which are necessary for us to prepare to get this knowledge. Swamiji says that knowledge is like a small capsule, it's like a seed, like it is a aushadhi. But what is also important is, like, our soil should be fertile for that seed to be grown. So we had already seen in previous classes how to fertile that soil. to have all those 20 qualities in ourselves. And now that the soil is fertile, now is the time to sow that seed. And today's class, we will see all the speakers are going to tell us what that exact knowledge is, that subtlest, most important knowledge about ourselves. Once we understand that, then we are through. That's the promise here. So why this knowledge is a must to know? One might ask, because it is solving the fundamental problem of all human beings. See, a person who is drowning, if you will tell him what is differential calculus, if you will tell him biotechnology, all those things, it is not helpful for him. It is helpful otherwise, but for a drowning person, you need to tell how to swim. So this knowledge is to how to swim through the this ocean of this samsara, this bhavasagar. And for that, the remedy is only knowledge, and knowledge about that Parama Brahma. So that is why this knowledge is very, very important. So please pay close attention to what, when we talk about what is this Nayam, then we are talking about our real self. So, and it will not be something which is very tangible or available to our senses. So it has to be really understood from that intellectual level, that wisdom level, that what we feel inside ourselves. So please pay close attention. So just in a nutshell, what is this Param Brahma? We say that it is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. When we say Satyam, it is like the very existence principle. When we say this is a pen, this is a phone, this is a fan. So we might think that, like for example, when we say a golden bangle, we might think that golden is an adjective, but a bangle is the object, but or like the real substance. But we already know that there is nothing called a bangle. The real substance is gold there, and a bangle and a necklace and all these are just different names and forms. So similarly, this is a pen, this is a fan. The pen and fan are just the name and forms, but the real thing is that isness. So that's what it is called, and that isness is my essential nature. So that is about the Satyam. And then there is Jnanam, that the very consciousness principle. I'm aware about myself. I am conscious about what is going on. So that consciousness principle is that Paramatma. And then there is Anantam. It is limitless. It is Ananda. So that is also, and other features are also talked about. See, these are not really features per se, but language has its own limitations. So we are using the word features, but otherwise Param Brahma is beyond the features. It is the very subject which is kind of, which recognizes all the features. So it is all pervading. See, we said it is the subtlest form. What we do in all our sciences, and scientists try to find out, okay, so there are compounds, then there are elements, then there are atoms, then they will go even more subtle, then they will go to protons, neutrons, quarks. Ultimately, everybody's trying to find out what is that subtlest thing which is making this entire universe. And our sages and rishis have already told that this Param Brahma, that consciousness principle, is that subtlest element. Now, if that is the subtlest element, obviously everything should be having it. And so it is no wonder that it is all pervading. Everything is made of that only. So it is everywhere. It is the basic substance of creation. And because it's everything and everywhere, so it is infinite also. And the big thing is it is free from the limitations of space, time, and attribute. Desha kala vastu. It is not limited by that. So it is not that it is here but not there. So there is no limit around that in space. Or it is not that it is not now, but later on I will achieve Brahman. Like we might think that, okay, I am sitting here, but Brahman is somewhere above the clouds, or I am right now living my whole daily life, but once I do some kind of a punya, and then later on after death or maybe nth janma, I will get there. It is beyond all that. It is a different dimension altogether. And attributes again are for matter, but for this consciousness principle, it is beyond all that. It is beyond all those limitations. So this is another kind of feature of Param Brahma, and it is beyond cause and effect also. Many times we say that, okay, the cause of this thing is this. Now, then what is the cause of that? Then the cause of that is that. Then the cause of that is that. And then it is an eternal thing. Now you say, what is the cause of the first cause? So this is beyond cause and effect. How can we understand that is, for example, there is a wave. We might think that there is an ocean, there is a wind, so those are the cause of a wave. But the thing is, like, if we understand that the wave and the ocean, they both are nothing but water. So now water is beyond cause and effect. Cause and effect are only there when we think of something as a wave. When we identify ourselves as a wave, then yes, cause and effect come into the picture. But when we talk at the level of water, it is beyond cause and effect. There's nothing like the any cause or any effect. It just, the water just is. And it is not an, see, a wave can be an object of perception. So from some standpoint, you can say, okay, this is this is that. But I'm the very subject which is perceiving all that. So that is what Param Brahma is. It is formless. See, if something is the basic element of everything, then what form can it be? Then if you have a form, then it is again limited. So many times it is a great thing that we start our practice with some personal god, Rama, Lakshmana, etc. So they are having a form, but when we go even beyond, it becomes an Arupa Ishvara. So it is formless, attributeless, it is nirvikara, and it is beyond senses. This is very important. We try to grasp things through our senses because that is the only instrument we have got. At least the five basic instruments that we have are Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. Through that we try to gain any kind of a knowledge. But here it is said that it is Ashabdam, Asparsham, Arupam, Avyayam, Tatarasam, Nitya Agandhavachayat. It is beyond all the senses also. So, as I said earlier, it is not very easy. It is not something that we just go read about it or spend some time and then we'll just get it. We have to really understand this continuous Shravana Manan Nididhyasnam, lot of contemplation, lot of mananam. We have to continuously listen. We have to continuously, internalize that knowledge and behave in a way that it kind of starts to dawn upon us. So, in previous verses, we saw that it has hands, legs, like we have that Purusha Suktam, Sahasra Shirsha, Purusha Sahasraksha, Sahasrapala, all that, because it is everywhere, right? So, this is how we characterize it, that it has all the legs are there, hands are there, eyes, and so we would say, like this Akash is like that, sun and moon are like that. So, we are trying to just personifying the Brahman, but ultimately, the idea is to tell it is all pervading. It manifests through senses, but it is beyond all of them. Our eyes are seeing because of that consciousness principle, but that consciousness principle is beyond the eyes, and same is true for all the senses. So the example is that the screen, otherwise the screen is like you would not even notice, but when those pictures or like movies are played on that, it is the substratum which is supporting all the movies, but it is beyond all the movies. It sustains everything, but it is unattached. Even something good or bad or happy or anything is going on the screen is still unattached because there's nothing to be attached. It is a different dimension altogether. It is not that it cannot attach, it does not have that cap. It is a different dimensional, it's a different thing altogether. It's an experiencer of gunas. It is not part of those gunas. It is gunatita. So, these are all the different characteristics of Param Brahma. And Param Brahma, here we are not talking about some kind of a far off, some other entity. We are talking about our own selves. So all these things that we have told so far, we have seen so far, all pervading, beyond the senses, beyond it is, I'm talking about me. I'm talking like, it is about you. We are all talking about that. So that is the thing that we need to start internalizing. It is not some kind of a foreign concept about some other thing sitting somewhere else. So then for example, there is another example generally it's given is like it appears that it is divided, it is inside some things and outside something. It is not like for example, we always give that example of a hand, that light is there, but it is visible only where the object of understanding is there, or like the medium is there where it can get reflected. But we might think it is not here and here and here, but it is all there. It is just that when the object moves, it appears to be moving, but it is always already there. So then it is said it is moving and unmoving. It is inside everything and it's outside. It's inside as well as outside. So it is inside me also, and then inside the next person sitting to me also. But I might think that it is not between us, but it is obviously between us also. It is just that the medium is not there. Once the medium is there, it will present itself also. So these things are, all these features are about Param Brahma. So we saw all these features about Param Brahma, and then there are more that we'll be discussing today, and different speakers are going to talk about that, and we're also going to touch upon what Purusha is, what Prakriti is. So we have different speakers today, and I'll not be coming in between. So once you see your names appearing, please go ahead with your verses, and then let's see what we can understand at the end as a summary to conclude that. Ambika ji, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So from verse 13 onwards, Lord Krishna is describing Jnayam. The word Jnayam means Parabrahma. Parabrahma, which is Nirguna, beyond sensory perception, free from any attributes, all-pervading. Brahma being expressed as pure existence and subtlest concept of the Vedanta. Continuing the description of Parabrahma, Shri Krishna says, Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, vibhaktam iva cha sthitam, bhuta bhratri tatat keyam, grashishnu prabha vishnu cha. Cha, moreover, sthitam, it remains avibhaktam, undivided. Cha, yet, iva vibhaktam, as if divided. Bhuteshu, in beings, tat jnayam, that Brahman, prabha vishnu, who is the creator, Grashishnu, who is the destroyer, Bhuta Bhratri, and the sustainer of all the beings. Next slide. The Parabrahma is indivisible, like a space which cannot be divided. That Brahman is pure existence consciousness, which is undivided, but seemingly appears to be divided in beings. Why seemingly appears to be divided? Consciousness is in all pervading, but we experience this consciousness only where the body, the medium, is available. Here the consciousness can be recognized in living beings, but in between it is not recognized. We can understand this from the following example. When a light falls on a hand, each finger is illumined separately, but in reality, it is the medium, the hand, which makes to perceive the light. The light, which is actually indivisible, appears to be divisible because of the medium. The reflected light from the hand is called the avyakta prakasha, and the unmanifested form is called the vyakta prakasha. Similarly, we see that the space is not divided, but due to the presence of the various pots, we assume that the space inside the pot and the outside the pot is different. But in reality, the space is not divided. It is our assumption that the space is being divided. Because once the pot is destroyed, the same space, the exterior and the interior space, becomes the one. This Brahman is also the Jagat Srishti Laya Karna. Out of the Brahman alone, all the names and the forms are manifested. They exist and they dissolve in the Brahman. Like the spider makes the web, it sustains it, and it swallows it. Same way, the Brahman creates this Jagata, sustains this Jagata, and destroy this Jagata. Thank you.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Thank you. This is another very profound and very important verse in the 13th chapter. As Ullas has mentioned, 13th chapter, which is in the last Shatkam, is like the very crucial kind of chapter, like the IPL match example that he gave, very important 13th and 14th chapter. So this is very famous shloka. Jyotishamapi jyotihi tamasah paramuchyate gnanam gneyam gnanagamyam hridi sarvasa visishtitam. So it is a, let's look at this word meaning. Tad jyoti, it is that light. Jyotisham api, of all the lights. Uchyate, it is said to be param tamasaha, it is beyond ignorance. Gnanam, it is the knowledge. Gnayam, the object of the knowledge. Gnanagamyam, the goal of the knowledge. Visishtitam, is present. Hridi sarvasya, in the heart of all. Next slide, please. So here we are dealing with this topic of gnayam, that which is worth knowing. So that started from the verse 13. Anadimat param brahma na sada sattana saduchyate. So gnayam is nothing but that param brahma itself, as told by the uh, previous speaker and Vilas. This verse actually reveals that there is no difference between the Sat Rupa Brahma, which is the isness, which is the pure existence, and the Chit Rupa Atma, which is the pure consciousness. So where do we actually identify this consciousness? It is within ourselves. Whereas the Sat, which is outside, Sat Eva Chit, Chit Eva Sat, that is what is talked about here. We'll go to the next slide. We know that Bhagavad Gita itself is the essence of the Upanishads. Sarva Upanishado Gavo Dogdha Gopala Nandana. And most of the Upanishadic mantras are taken from either Kathopanishad or Mundakopanishad. Here we have this mantra where the source happens to be Mundakopanishad. We have heard these mantras before, very famous mantras. Usually they are chanted when there is Arati, Mangalarati for the deity in the temples or in their own homes when they are doing Nitya Pujas, Nitya Devatarchanas. Hiranmaye Pare Koshe Virajam Brahmanishkalam. So that is the mantra from the Mundaka. And then we also have seen Natatra Suryo Bhati Nachandra Tarakam Nema Vidyuto Bhanti Kuto Yamagnihi. So these are all the mantras which is talking about Jyotisham Jyoti. What is this Jyotisham Jyoti? Literal meaning is it is the light of all the lights. We have recently celebrated Shivaratri. The other name of Shiva is Mahadeva. Mahadeva, Deva, the word itself means the light. Mahadeva means the light of the lights. So it is nothing but the Chit Rupa Brahman. That which enlivens everything else. That is the Mahadeva, light of the lights. How do we understand this? Let's proceed to the next slide. Now, in the Vedantic parlance, the word light itself means not just the one which illumines the object. For example, we understand when we switch on the tube light or the bulb, we know that it gives light, and because of which we are able to see other things which are there in the room. Now it is evening, the lights are on, I'm able to see everything, I'm able to see the screen, and we say it is the light. And that is, of course, we all understand that basic understanding. But if you really look at it carefully, it is that object, it is throwing the beam of light because of which I am able to see something else. So in the Shastric parlance, light is defined as that in whose presence things are known. For example, I am able to see this through my eyes because of the light. If you are listening to me and not looking at the screen at all, the light will be your ears, which means our sense objects, all sense organs, eyes, ears, nose, taste, touch, all of them are also called as lights in the Vedantic parlance. In fact, we have seen it in the Kenopanishad also. What is that which is the ear behind the ear, eye behind the eye, etc. In other words, light is nothing but that instrument or that medium which reveals something else. So every instrument of knowledge is called as light. Even logic, tarka, when we infer something to arrive at something else, that instrument of logic is also called as light. Through reasoning, we know a lot of things. So reasoning is also light. The words or the lights, Shabda Pramana, that which is there in the Shastras or even otherwise, the words which reveal us the knowledge of something else. This is categorically told in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And these are all the lights, that Pramanas that we are aware of. What is that which enlivens these lights? If we say everything that is tangible medium through which we understand the world, those are the ordinary lights. But Jyotisham api Jyoti, that which enlivens all of this is the ultimate light, which is nothing but the Sat Chit Brahman. An inert thing cannot know anything. Therefore, that has to be enlivened with the sentience, and that is given by Brahman. So this word param tamasa uchyate, this ultimate light, we are moving to the next line of this shloka, is so unique. So can we go back to the previous slide, please? So this is so unique that it can even reveal the darkness. When we think of the light, the source for all of our light is, of course, Surya, which is Divakara. One thing that the Surya, Divakara, which cannot illuminate is the night. This Surya can never meet with night. You can look at this picture here. While it is evening here or night in India, it will be day in America. When it is day there, it will be night here, which means light, sunlight can never meet the night. So, but here it is Jyotisham api Jyoti. That which is the enlivening principle, Brahman, that can reveal even the night also. By what? Through the knowledge. Through the knowledge, it can reveal the night also. So in Purusha Sukta, Ulas was talking about it, Purushaha Sahasra Shirisha, Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad. So there is this shloka which comes in Purusha Sukta, Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat. You can see the very same words are used there in Purusha Sukta, which is borrowed and brought in here. Purusha Sukta, by the way, is from Rigveda, and also some of them are also featured in the Atharvana Veda. So this light is something that reveals the night also. The word which is used is, it is beyond darkness. How do we understand this beyond darkness? Example given, Ulas has already talked about it. The screen which is there to reveal the movie. Now, we can say that the adhishtanam, the screen itself is revealing, but it is also beyond the movie. We don't appreciate it. It is there, but it is not there. In other words, when we say it is beyond the ignorance, this param is beyond ignorance means it is referring to the asangatvam. It is there as adhishtanam, but it is not affected by the movie itself. The screen is not affected by the movie itself. Just like that. Now, this light reveals the ignorance also, but it is not affected by the ignorance. Next slide, please. So this Satchit Brahma is everything. Now, this is the connect between Sat and the Chit. Sarvam Brahma Mayam Jagat. So the final line in this shloka says, this Param Brahma, Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam, Mahantam is Param, is nothing but it is also the Gnanam, which is the knowledge. So we should understand in this chapter, 13th chapter, it is also told elaborately in the Shankara Bhashyam, Amanitvam, beginning with that, the verse number 8 till the verse number 12, all the 20 different virtues which are talked about in this chapter are referred to as Gnanam. All of them are, in fact, even in the last line in the 12th chapter, it says, Etad Gnanam Uchyate. So that 20 virtues are all nothing but Gnanam. We have to take the meaning of the Gnanam according to the chapter. And this is where Swami Paramarthananda and all the great scholars help us. And then Gnayam, the object of the knowledge, is nothing but the Brahman itself. And Gnana Gamyam, the whole goal of this pursuit, the spiritual pursuit, this knowledge, is nothing but the moksha. Moksha is already a Siddha Purusha. So here it is saying Gnanam, Gnayam, Gnana Gamyam, and everything is Brahman alone. And we have seen similar verses previously from Harpanam, Brahma Havir, Brahmagno, Brahmanavataha. So in the 4th chapter. So the Pramatha, the seeker, is Brahman. Pramana, the instrument used is Brahman. Prameya, the instrument, the knowledge or the knowledge is Brahman. Knowledge used for this path is Brahman. Prama is nothing but the end product or the goal itself. That is Brahma. And that we are going for is Aprameya. So everything, Aprameya is that which can't be conceived. Everything is Brahman. So where to recognize this Brahman? Although it is there everywhere, Sarvasya Hridi Vishritam. Hridi in the Vedantic parlance means mind. Where do we recognize all this knowledge? It is through our intellect only. Although it is there everywhere, we understand this through our mind only. Just like electricity is recognized only through the switch. Although you will say that it is there all throughout the wires supplying from its source till the bulb, we recognize it at the level of the switch. This consciousness is vritti bhava abhava sakshi, which is aware of the presence as well as the absence of our thoughts in the mind, which reveals the knowledge. It also reveals the ignorance. Next slide, please. We will see the final summary of this final meaning which is given. So this verse tells this param jyotisham api jyoti is the light of all lights. It is said to be beyond ignorance. It is the knowledge. It is the object of the knowledge. It is the goal of the knowledge, and it is present in the heart of all, and it is recognized in the mind. Hari Om. Thank you.
Verse 19 goes like this. Iti kshetram tata jnanam jneyam choktam samasataha mad bhakta yetad vijaniya mad bhavayo padatyate. Next slide, please. Certainly a very, very important verse from the Bhagavad Gita. Let us see the word by word meaning and see what Sri Krishna is trying to convey to us. Whenever we read the scriptures, and for us the Bhagavad Gita is the ultimate of all the scriptures. Ultimate means it is given to us directly from Sri Krishna. And for a devotee, a scripture is considered as gospel. Gospel means God has spoken to me. So I don't need to evaluate, but these are the words from God, and therefore I take it as God's word and I will take it directly. What is Sri Krishna telling us in this verse? Iti, thus, that means he's making a certain conclusion at a certain period of the 13th chapter. Kshetram, tata jnanam, neyam, uktam. It has been taught. How is it been taught? Sama sataha. Now, Sri Krishna is saying, I have told you this very briefly. In the Bhagavad Gita, this is the limitation of the scripture of the Bhagavad Gita. All the great Vedantic truths have been indicated. Sarvo Upanishado Gavo, the essence of the Upanishads have been given to us. But how? Sri Krishna has given it to us very, very briefly. And this is where he's telling us, but you are my devotee. I want you to know this. I want you to know this. And this is the promise that Sri Krishna gives you. Upapadyate. You become fit to attain to my nature. That means you can be one with me. So Sri Krishna in this verse is telling us that if you know these terms, can I know, next slide, please. So what has he discussed so far? What is this kshetram? Kshetram literally means the field of my experience, particularly here, my body-mind complex. Kshetrajna is the one who knows this is my body and this is all that I can see. The knower of the field of experience or consciousness or Atma is Kshetrajna. So Sri Krishna in the earlier words has explained this. Jnanam here means the values that is important for a person who's pursuing this path. And the most important word here is neyam. Next slide, please. Neyam means that which is worth knowing. And he again confesses, see, I have told you this very briefly. Now, but it's your job now to take this further. This knowledge you have to pursue, because what happens, some people find it difficult and they drop it. But remember, you are my devotee. And as a devotee, it is possible that you will come to the same state as I am and be eternally free. Next one, please. These are beautiful quotes from Swami Anubhavanandaji, and I want you to reflect on this. Where there is logic, there is no love. That is clear. Where there is love, there is no need for logic. That means when you are with a scriptural teacher, with a guru, then the most important quality that one must have is what is called Shraddha. Shraddha means what my guru says and what my scripture says is gospel truth. I don't even have an iota of doubt about what these words say. That means Sri Krishna says, if you know these things, Kshetram, Kshetrajnam, Jnanam, Neyam, that is worth knowing, we can become one with Sri Krishna, not posthumously, in this life itself. It is something that you can taste and be in the state of Sri Krishna. This is his promise. Let us go a little more detail. Next one, please. Of all the words in the entire Bhagavad Gita, there is something that we need to focus on, this term called Gneyam. And in the Mandukya Upanishad, it comes as Vigneyam. Nantat Prajnam na Bahish Prajnam na Ubayata Prajnam. Finally, it is Vigneyam. What is this Vigneyam, or something that is worth knowing? Next one, please. And Sri Krishna began his whole chapter by saying, Neyam yat tat pravakshami, yat jnatva amritam ashnute. That means you must know that which is worth knowing. That means you must know the knower. Now you're listening to me. Are you listening from your ears? Are you listening from your mind? Or is there some conscious principle because of which you are able to listen? Can you know who is that? And if it is possible, learn to claim I am that, and not this body-mind complex, which is only helping us to understand all that. Next slide, please. So the same thing, Neyam Yattat Pravakshami. This is something worth knowing, because if you know this, you will attain to Amritattvam, immortality. Remember one thing, the mortal body can never become immortal, but the immortal Atma is always immortal. Only as I do not know that immortal aspect in me is my true nature. That is what is worth knowing. Next slide, please. So what is our Swarupam? We all of us are combination of Atma and Anatma. Anatma is this body-mind complex. Atma is this consciousness principle. Next one, please. And we have great teachers like Bhagwan Ramana. When they realized the truth, for 16 years, he did not know how to communicate the understanding. And he thought it is best to keep it silent, because this is something that could not be expressed. And we could express, he put it in small aphorisms. And he wants us to know this is true. Naham deham. I am not my body. If I am not my body, koham, inquire, look into yourself. Use whatever is possible, Guru and Shastra, to be able to discover I am not the body, but I am the embodied. Saha aham asmi. I am that principle because of which my body is alive, and that principle which is the knowing principle. Next one, please. Pranams to Swami Paramarthananda Ji. He has given us two fundamental principles. Let us remember this all the time. The first fundamental principle is I am other than whatever I experience, which literally means I am not this body. I am the Drik, not the Drishyam. I am not this field of experiences, the Kshetra, but I am the Kshetrajna. Next slide, please. The second fundamental principle is what Sri Krishna wants us to know. As Atma, I am Nirguna. That means I have no limits in time. I have been there from the very beginning. If there is a beginning, I will be there till the very end. I have no limitations in space, because what? My sarvam idam protam sutre manigana eva. Shri Krishna is talking about our nature. I seem to be functioning through this body and being limited to this body. That is the gift because of my mind. The mind is my best friend and my worst enemy. My best friend because I'm able to understand the Vedanta and speak about the Vedanta because of the mind. The mind can be my enemy because my mind tends to limit myself to this body and not. But if the mind helps me to Guru and Shastra to understand this Mahabhakya, I am Atma Brahma. I am that consciousness which is enlivening this body, and which gives existence to this whole world. Next slide, please. Ultimately, my dear friends, this is the message of all the teachers. When Bhagavan Buddha was dying, and he had this message to his dear disciple Ananda. Enlightenment is something that we have to do through our own effort. The teacher is only a catalyst which will help us to accelerate our process of recovery. But ultimately, we have to become a light unto ourselves. In the last verse, Dr. Devakar explained what is this Jyotisham Api Jyoti. There is so much light around me. But who is that light of all lights? That consciousness in me, which is illumining the light in this room, and because of which I'm able to see everything. I am that Jyoti Sham Api Jyoti. And if I'm able to claim I am that, that is what is called becoming a light unto ourselves. And that is what all the scriptures said. If you are able to get that, you have lived a worthy human life. And if you have missed that, you have missed a great deal. And these verses of the Bhagavad Gita says, if you know Jnanam, Jneyam, Kshetram, Kshetrajna, you will be able to attain to my state. This is what Shri Krishna says. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So in the next few verses, Krishna discusses Prakriti and Purusha, the third pair of questions asked by Arjuna. He says, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi Anadhi Ubhav Api. Know that Prakriti and Purusha are born without beginning. Vikaramscha Gunamscha Chaiva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. And know also that all modification and gunas are born of Prakriti. So we'll see in the next slide, Krishna discusses Prakriti and Purusha together because they are closely interconnected principle, just as Kshetram and Kshetrajna in the 13th chapter are closely interconnected. Then Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti, which Krishna discussed in the 7th chapter. Para Prakriti being consciousness and Apara Prakriti being matter. Now Krishna is discussing the same as Purusha and Prakriti, where Purusha is the Chaitanya Tattva, the consciousness principle, and Prakriti means the matter principle. So Prakriti is everything else except consciousness. So these two terms, Purusha and Prakriti, are generally used in Sankhya philosophy, whereas in Vedanta, Purusha is called as Brahman and Prakriti is Maya. So in the next slide, Krishna begins the discussion here saying, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidhi Anadhi Ubhavapi. So he says, Vidhi, understand, know this. Ubhavapi, both are Anadi, beginningless and timeless. So Prakriti has no beginning, but is a changing principle. It's a cycle. There was no first birth, there was no first creation. Whereas Purusha consciousness also has no beginning, but it is changeless. So Purusha and Prakriti are the two basic principles which are Anadi or beginningless. In the next slide, Purusha and Prakriti has got another common feature besides being Anadi. The second feature being both together are the cause of the universe, where the Purusha Prakriti mixture is called as Ishvara, which is the cause of this universe. But in the next slide, you'll see there are four differences, main differences between Purusha and Prakriti. In the first, Purusha is the Chetana Tattvam, it's a sentient, whereas Prakriti or Maya is Achetana, insentient. Purusha is Nirvikara, that is, it is not subject to modification or change, whereas Prakriti or matter principle is subject to time and therefore subject to modification, Savikara. Purusha is free from all attributes like Sattva, Rajas, Tamo, Shabda, Sparsha, Guna, everything. Thus, consciousness is free from all properties. It is Nirguna Tattvam, whereas matter is endowed with all properties, so it is called as Saguna. And the fourth difference is that consciousness principle has got an independent existence, and therefore it is said to be Satyam, whereas the matter principle does not have an independent existence. In fact, existence of matter depends upon the consciousness principle. So it is called as Mithya Tattva. Next slide, please. Of these two, Purusha and Prakriti, nothing will happen to Purusha Tattvam because Purusha Tattva is not conditioned by time and therefore will remain the same. There will be no changes. Before Shrishti, during Shrishti, and during Pralayam, all the time, Purusha is nirvikaram. Quoting Shri Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, na jayate mriyataye vakvedachit, na ayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuvayaha. Now, if this nirvikara Purusha Tattvam does not undergo any change, then all the changes must be happening to Prakriti, the basic matter or the energy principle. And therefore, Krishna says in the next second line, at the time of creation, what happens? Next slide. Vikaramscha gunamschaiva vidhi prakritim sambhavan. Vidhi, Arjuna, know that. Prakriti sambhavan, out of the Prakriti Tattvam alone evolves this universe, along with guna, that is sattva, rajas and tamas, and vikara, the shadvikara changes. So Prakriti evolves into this universe, just as a seed evolves to become a sprout and then a plant and finally into a full-fledged tree. Similarly, there is a gradual evolution from Karana Avastha to Sukshma Avastha to Sthula Avastha. Next slide. Then what about a mind? Where does it belong? We should remember that mind is also material in nature. And that is why the changes in the chemistry of the body also changes our mind also. Vikaramscha gunamschaiva prakriti sambhavan, Krishna says. Thoughts and gunas both happen in Prakriti, so are subject to time and change. As these are products of Prakriti, the properties of the cause will also be there in effect. And Shankaracharya points out that even the properties like Raga, Dvesha, etc. do not belong to Purusha. They all belong to Prakriti alone. Finally, thus on one side, Prakriti with its changes, the gunas, limitations, death is like a constantly flowing river. And on the other side, like the bank of the river, is the still, immobile, imperishable Purusha or the self. We'll learn more about Purusha and Prakriti in the following verses. Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om. कार्य कर्ण कर्तुः हेतुः प्रकृति रुच्यते पुरुषः सुख दुःखानां भोक्तृत्वे हेतु रुच्यते. So Prakriti is said to be the cause in the creation of the physical and subtle bodies. Purusha is said to be the cause in the experience of pleasure and pains. So let's look at the first line of this verse. Everything in this creation is born out of Prakriti only, which includes the body, mind, complex also. So if we have to understand Prakriti, right, we just, in this verse, it is explained, Prakriti is said to be the cause in the creation of the physical and subtle body. It's like a gigantic IMAX screen is there. This world is like a gigantic IMAX screen. And Prakriti is the one that projects the life of every human being that is there in this world. So it's sort of a, you can think of, it's sort of a world is the largest soap opera that we have, and Prakriti is projecting the life of every human being in this world. So Prakriti, in this verse, it is being explained, Prakriti can create through its projections. What does it projects? The karya, the body of the person, as well as the karana. That is the instruments of the body, which includes the 5 organs of our senses, the 5 organs of actions, the mind, the intellect, and the ego. So Sri Krishna here says that Prakriti is the source of all actions in this world and not the Purusha. We understood in the previous verse also that Prakriti is the source of all actions. It is the one which is changing and creating everything that is there in the universe. The instruments of our body receive inputs from our senses. Then they are filtered through our vasanas, the impressions that we have built over a period of time in multiple lifetimes, and those are the ones send instructions to our organs of action. And all this is going within the realm of Prakriti. So everything that we have talked about here, right from the projection, the senses receiving of the input, and how does it get filtered, and all those instructions, that is the realm of Prakriti. And it continues to project the IMAX movie of the world. In other words, the I, that is the Purusha principle, does not do anything. We'll see this in the later slides, but Prakriti is the one which does everything. So, in nutshell, the experienced world that we are talking about, whatever we are experiencing, is Prakriti. The experienced body is also Prakriti. Experienced mind is also Prakriti. If everything I experience is Prakriti, then there's one very logical question that comes: where is this Purusha that we are talking about? So Shri Krishna here says, do not search for the Purusha, because the Purusha is who? It is the experiencer, the Bhokta, that we are going to talk about. The Purusha is the awareness principle, as we saw in the previous verse also, the knowledge principle that is present in the body. And it is not located anywhere. It cannot be objectified. And we will see why it cannot be objectified in the later slides. Purusha is the I, the very subject who is enclosed in our material body, who is enclosed in the material mind. And this enclosure is Prakriti, is created by Prakriti, and the enclosed consciousness is the Purusha. So Purusha is the experiencer or the Bhokta. Whatever the Prakriti is creating, Purusha is the experiencer or Bhokta there. For example, here you can see the bitter juice. So what is it that this Purusha does, the consciousness does? It is only the Purusha that has the capacity to come up with the knowledge that this liquid is bitter. Because when you're going to eat this Karele ka juice that we has bitter gourd juice, you know instantly that this liquid is bitter. And if Purusha principle is not there, there'll be nothing to know what Prakriti has projected. It's like, there's no audience to see that IMAX movie that is being projected by the Prakriti. Right. So this knowledge of bitterness is filtered through our vasanas or the programming that has been done. And through this knowledge, this results in either joy or sorrow. So whenever external objects are arranged by our Prakriti in a pattern that is conducive to our vasanas, the Purusha, the experiencer, experiences joy. So I am happy. It is the Purusha which is experiencing happiness. Similarly, sorrow is also experienced when objects are undesirable, and that is filtered through the vasanas that we have developed. So it's a very important law in Vedanta that we are reading here in this verse, which is all the observed properties can belong to only observed objects. So whatever properties that you're seeing can only belong to the observed objects, and they only belong to the observed objects and not to the subject. So no observed property can belong to the observer subject. The subject here is the Purusha. So in this world, which is created by Prakriti, Prakriti is available as the object. Purusha is the subject, the experiencer, and the subject Purusha can never be objectifiable. So people will ask, how will we know Purusha is there? Right, that's a very logical question that comes. So Swamiji gives two beautiful examples of, the proof for Purusha is like the eye and the camera. We can never see our eye, right? Even in the mirror that is being reflected, that is not the true image of the eye. One is never able to see the eye, but we never question our eyes, do we? It is there, we all know. Similarly, the Purusha is also there. And another example that he gives is very beautiful. The camera, when you click the pictures and the pictures come in front of you, nobody questions whether the camera was there or not. You assume, right, that the camera is there. That is why these pictures has come. So the similar way, the subject never requires the proof. Just like in the case of eyes and camera, the Purusha here also does not require any proof. So he explains this in the last line he says, which I found to be a very wonderful discovery. And he says also, what a wonderful discovery when he's explaining this verse. He says, so where is Purusha? It is like the 10th man story that we have always heard, right? So when you are counting, who is that 10th person? You are counting 9 people in front of you. The 10th person is you only. So I am the Purusha. I am that 10th person that is the, when we are counting, there are 10 people and one person starts counting. The 10th person is I only. So I am the Purusha. Hari Om.
Thank you, all the speakers. Thank you, Apeksha, for such a good detailed explanation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chetna. Thank you, Dr. Divakar and Ambika ji. How wonderfully we have covered other aspects of Param Brahma and Purusha and Prakriti. These are some of the very, very important topics to understand in the entire Vedanta, and something that we can actually see from our own experience also. That Ishvara is there, Purusha, Prakriti, how when, there are states when I would feel something like bigger than myself. So when we kind of keep expanding that, then maybe one day we'll reach to some kind of a realization that I am that Parabrahma. So I'll just kind of repeat a few things which have already been talked about, just for a revision perspective, that it is Param Brahma is indivisible, avibhaktam. You cannot divide it any further. See, first I told that it is the subtlest of the things. It's already like the one that is making up everything. So how can you even divide the most subtle thing, the first place? But we do see that it appears as if it is divided. The consciousness in me and the consciousness in you, it appears as if there is two of them. But as we discussed, it is only because of the absence of medium between the two. So it is only an appearance. That is not the reality. Here in all this understanding, we are trying to see what is the reality. There are appearances which we already are aware of, but we are going after the reality which is always there, irrespective of space and time and all that. So what is always there is that it is indivisible. Dr. Divakar beautifully spoke about that, how it enlightens the ignorance also. Like I am the one who is aware of ignorance about something also, right? And there are different type of lights, and this is the light which is enlightening all those lights. Like light is something which is the source of illumining any kind of thing. For example, the light of eyes, by that I can see. The light of ears is the capability for me to hear. But this is the one which is sitting behind all of them, that consciousness principle. And this is the one which is being aware of the ignorance. Like if I don't know French, then I am the one who knows that I don't know. So that ignorance also it is aware of. And so we have the capability to gain that knowledge, to dispel that ignorance, dispel that darkness. And it is not that it is only available in our hearts, it is everywhere, but it is available in our hearts also, and there it is kind of manifested in its great glory, in full glory. Like for example, the example was given that electricity is everywhere, but if there is 1,000 watt of halogen bulb glowing, then electricity is there also in other places also, but that is where we can actually see the full glory of that electricity. Or like a big fan is glowing. So all those different things. So heart is like that place where we can see that full manifestation. And as sir said, the greatest promise Krishna gives us is that once we understand this, once we grasp this knowledge, we attain Krishna. And here Krishna is not just that form of Lord Krishna. Here it is being talked about that principle, that that liberation, moksha, that fundamental problem of humankind we were talking about. We'll get rid of that once we attain Krishna. So see, we have all this in our reach, all the knowledge we have, and it is not even limited to space and time. So we don't have to think that I have to take 50 more janmas to achieve it, or I have to go somewhere in Swarg, etc. It is all there in our grasp. There are certain things we need to do for that, certain practices to make sure that our mind is fertile, and then it is right there. We are right to make it happen. So moving ahead, we also talked about Purusha and Prakriti. So this is, see, Brahman is the underlying principle of all. But when we see this creation, there are certain concepts that we need to understand. Right. So there is something called Purusha and Prakriti. We see the inert matter also, and we see that this inert matter is enlivened by some principle. And so Ishvara is the one who is responsible for the entire creation, and Ishvara is nothing but that mixture of that Purusha and Prakriti. And both are the cause of universe. That is, so there is some kind of similarity between these two things, that both are beginningless. There is no kind of a start of them. And then the second thing is like both are the cause for the universe. This creation, this is the cause. Like you need both the matter also and the consciousness principle. But then there are very big differences also between them. This matter is actually inert. There is no consciousness. It is not aware of itself. So, but Purusha is the consciousness principle which enlivens everything in this creation. And Prakriti is all subject to changes. Everything that we see happening to our body, to outside, these things all changing is happening only in Prakriti. It is not happening in me. When I identify myself to that consciousness principle, then I can be very, very calm in my mind that, okay, all these changes, all these diseases, vyadhis, everything happening around the world, it's all happening to the Prakriti only. is not happening to me, the Purusha principle. So it all depends on who I identify with. Like in a cricket example, for example, if RCB and MI are playing, if I identify myself as a Bangalore person, then I want RCB to win. So I'll be happy if RCB wins, or I'll be sad if RCB loses. But if I identify myself as a cricket lover, then it doesn't matter who wins. I'll enjoy the game of cricket regardless. So it is all how what is that standpoint, what is that viewpoint I'm looking at from. So if I look at from Purusha perspective, then all these changes are happening in Prakriti. Sir said, whatever is seen, whatever is mine is not me. So Prakriti is kind of mine. It's an instrument through which Ishvara does its thing. So and it has a dependent existence. Purusha is self-existent. All these attributes changing and all happens only to the Prakriti. This is pretty much we have seen with all the speakers that they have already told. And so everything which is physical is Prakriti. And who is the subject of all the experience, all the feelings that we have, all the emotions that we have, that is all through Purusha. Thank you so much. And so let us take this that, we will go through this understanding of chapter 13. This is a very important over in the 18 over match. And we must, put our full hearts and minds to it. And then we have to win this match against this worldly problem, this sansaric thing, or the fundamental problem of, this fear of death. And because death is again at the Prakriti level, at the matter level. But where I'm identifying myself, if that is clear, who I really am, then all that problem is gone. Thank you. Hari Om.
Ullas has already thanked all the speakers, but on behalf of Param Vedanta, I once again thank Ullas, Dr. Hegde sir, all speakers of the day, and the Vedantins who have joined us today. Friends, remember to join us at 6:45 p.m. on Friday, 18th April 2025 for the 19th session of Atma Bodha. We continue revision of Atma Bodha to reinforce the enlightening knowledge expounded by Bhagavad Pada Adi Shankaracharya. Let us conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.